Great. Guys, thank you all so much for joining me early in the morning. It's really nice to see everybody. My name is Katie Espinoza, and I'm the head of brand and operations. So at Rebrandly, we're a link management platform, right? We specialize in branded links. And I want to talk to you guys today about how you can empower your marketing strategy in a huge variety of different ways by utilizing branded links. So I know what you might be thinking, like, what is a branded link? What is this girl talking about? Link management, totally foreign words. But today what I'll do is teach you exactly what they are, describe to you why they're so important, and then talk about some insightful ways that you can insert them into your current marketing strategy and plan around them for the future. Okay, so I want you guys to picture a link right now. The first thing that I imagine that comes into your head is something like the top one, right? So that's a destination URL. It's long, it's random, it's really, really ugly. And then the second one is a generic short link. So it's still random, it's still pretty ugly, it's just short. Companies share hundreds, if not thousands, of links every day. And while I'm sure you and your team aren't guilty of sharing something like the first one on social, you're probably already really familiar with those generic short links. They are smaller, they do save space, but they don't feature a single trace of your brand. And so at Rebrandly, it's our opinion that they're a thing of the past, and that you shouldn't be utilizing them anymore. So instead of swapping something that's long and horrible for something that's short and horrible, we want to talk about why every link that you share needs to be branded. So what is a branded link? They're shortened versions of URLs that include your brand name and custom keywords. And they're made up of three elements. So the domain, the TLD, and the slash tag, or the URL slug. And with generic URL shorteners, you have no control over any of these three elements. They're all decided for you, and they don't feature a single trace of your brand. But when you make the switch to branded links, you get to choose the domain for yourself, and then you choose the slash tag every time you create a new link. So let's talk about the domain. It forms the base of all of your branded links. So it's kind of a no-brainer that you actually need to pick your company name. Maybe you could use an acronym, but either way, the goal is that your customers should immediately recognize your brand every time they see your links. The TLD is the dot something, right? And nowadays, you have hundreds of options to choose from, way more than just .com or .org. So you can pick anything from .pizza to .sexy to .tech. There's quite literally hundreds that you could pick from. And so our recommendation would be that you pick something that is either relevant to your industry or to the type of content that you're going to share with your links. And then last of all, you have the slash tag or the URL slug. And so this is the keyword, and you get to choose it each and every time you create a link. It's not generated for you by the system. And so in this way, you can create a meaningful message using just the link itself. You can even use it as an opportunity to create a CTA with your links. And so in this way, your links are not only branded, they're not only reflective of your campaigns, but they can be compelling for your users when they see them. So instead of something like this, you can go for a branded domain. For example, at Rebrandly, we use .video to promote our content on YouTube, .rocks to share our posts on social, and then exclusively .support for sharing FAQs and for connecting our users to our knowledge base. And our strategy here is that we want to indicate to our customers where they're actually going to go when they click on our links. And in that way, we're drawing an extra layer of trust between them and us. Other brands do this too. So I don't know if anybody's ever tried American or Panda Express. It's an American Chinese food chain. They actually use the .press TLD so that they have their entire brand in the domain. And then they use the compelling call to action order now. And they use this all over social. You can see Land Rover in Australia opt for the .click domain. So again, it's a compelling TLD. And similarly, so do Indiegogo. Think about it from another perspective though, right? So your company would never allow you to share emails using a generic domain name like Gmail or Hotmail, maybe in the early days of the internet, but not anymore. We say it should be exactly the same for your links. Every time that you share something, it should be using a branded domain that your company owns, so that your customers can guarantee that the links that they're clicking on are actually going to lead to content that you have generated. Okay, so now you guys know what they are. My job's over, right? Everybody's sitting here thinking, wow, where can I get branded links, right? Okay, maybe not. I'll explain to you a little bit more why they stand out so much when you compare them to those kind of ugly stepsisters, the generic short URLs. And the first thing we want to look at is visibility. So think about how many times you have your customers, your partners, even your friends, maybe your mom, sharing your posts on social for you. Do you always get tagged correctly? Is your company always credited as the source of your content? Probably not, especially when it's your mom resharing the posts for you, like which what happens for me. And so every time you use a branded link, you're guaranteeing that your company name stands out in each and every link, right? And so in that sense, they become like these little mini assets for your company every time they're posted and reshared. Trust. So when people recognize your brand, they're a lot more likely to trust your links off of the first glance. And when they trust your links, they're a lot more likely to follow through and actually click. How many of you guys have clicked on kind of a sketchy, generic short URL over the times, right? To a competition that's way too good to be true, or an offer that doesn't actually exist. However, when you make the switch, you're signaling that your company is willing to attach its brand name and its reputation to every link and every piece of content that you post. And trust in your brand really matters. At Rebrandly, we've seen branded links gain up to 39% higher click-through rates when you compare them to generic short URLs or the long unbranded links. 39% is a lot of clicks and potentially way more conversions for your product or your company. Consistency. So your customers are paying a lot more attention to all those little details than you guys might think. If you have different teammates from different parts of the company sharing random links from different tools on different platforms, it gets chaotic, and your customers are bound to notice. And I get it, like I really do. Sometimes when you're trying to create a post, you just think of the first product that comes to your mind and you get that short link. And yes, it makes sense. But it's undeniable, those URLs, they do look sketchy. And they can leave your customers feeling suspicious, which at the end of the day can really have a negative impact on your CTR. So we say that it's time to recognize that your links really are a crucial part of the branding process, and that they play an essential role in developing brand consistency because they draw all of the elements of your brand together in one cohesive message. Deliverability. So has anybody in the room been responsible for running an email campaign in the past? Maybe? Yes? Great. Think about how much time you spend planning the campaign, coming up with your budgets, executing it, on top of how much money you actually spend on the campaign itself. How devastated would you be if you found out that only half of your messages were delivered because you used a generic short URL? Those little shortened links can significantly decrease the deliverability. And the reason is because they're using a generic domain, they're highly associated with spammers. Anybody can get access to them. And so if you're sharing links that are associated with spam, all of your messages, whether that's in email or on other platforms, can be affected by it, right? And the posts are not as deliverable. Whereas, if you were just to replace that generic short URL with a branded link, they're highly deliverable because your company owns the domain. And I'm going to trust that your company is not spamming its own customers, probably not your ideal strategy. So long as you're taking the necessary steps to keep your domain whitelisted, you can guarantee that your links and your messages are actually getting to where you want them to go. And I touched on this just a moment ago. If you're creating URLs without a custom domain name of your own, it's not actually you who owns those links, those assets. Not a single one of them belongs to your company. Was anybody aware of that? Any links that are made using a generic third-party domain belong to that company, which means you have no freedom or control to do things like edit them or update them as you go along. But way worse than that, if the company that you're using to create those links shuts down, like what recently happened when Google decided to decommission its URL shortener, there's no recourse for you at all. Every single one of the links you've ever created, gone. Memorability. So if I asked you guys to go visit goo.gl/IHFHUHIHGE0G after this talk so that you could get a coupon for our service, does anybody think that they'd be able to remember that URL at a later date? What if I asked you guys to go and visit rebrandly.live/Rimini? Of course you would, and that's the whole point of branded links. They turn your messages into URLs that can be carried by word of mouth. They can be remembered, just at a glance, and they can tie your offline marketing efforts back in with your online ones. And it can make stats and analytics that were previously nearly unavailable to you suddenly totally accessible. We all know that people inherently like to interact with things that look and feel nice, right? It's why you spend so much time on your logo, your website, your app, and why the same amount of thought and effort needs to be put into the links that you're sharing with your current and with your prospective customers. Okay, so you understand branded links. I think that you can see that they're a really fantastic alternative to what the standard or the norm is. But we want to talk about link management now, and this is somewhat separate, right? So you put management systems in place in every aspect of your business, constantly updating, implementing new procedures, new processes. But the chances are you actually don't have any sort of structure when it comes to the links. Does this look familiar to anybody? Yeah. It's chaos, right? But I've spoken to so many marketers who have had to put up with spreadsheets like this. So they spend tons of time creating folders, manually adding UTM codes to campaign links, trying to make sure that everybody's actually using the tracking links, right? It's a nightmare. And this is only happening in marketing. Think about the other departments in the business and the other teams who have their own kind of coping mechanisms for how they actually deal with the links and the content that they're sharing. It's chaos all across the board. But link management is a way of organizing these assets, these key components of your communication strategy. And it's the ability to brand, edit, organize, and analyze all of the links that you share. And like I keep saying, links are an asset for your company. So depending on how they're managed, they can be a huge opportunity for you to take advantage of and leverage across your marketing campaigns. Otherwise, in times of crisis, they could turn out to be a threat that you don't have the ability to control or manage. Modern organizations have specific tools for absolutely everything, right? You have one for analytics, one for SEO, one for sales, and so on and so forth. And having one for your links to keep them all in one central place is just as important as any CRM or CMS or project management tool. And so when you're choosing a partner, you need somebody who is reliable so that your links won't suddenly go down in the middle of a really important campaign. One that is scalable so that they can handle huge usage peaks. And by that, I mean if you suddenly needed to create millions of links, Or if your links started getting huge amounts of click traffic, you need to guarantee that they'll stay alive. And then flexible, because they need to integrate with the processes and the workflows that you guys already have. We all know the biggest challenge to making changes on a team is actually just getting people to adopt the change. So if you're not managing your links already, we want to look at some of the different ways that an effective link management strategy can really affect your future and your current marketing campaigns. Because having a platform to use as a partner here gives you the ability to control, customize, and analyze every single touch point between you and your customers. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I want to ask you guys all a few questions about your links right now at this very moment in time, okay? How many links are created and shared each year across your organization? Are they consistent with your brand's voice? Do they produce high-quality traffic? Do your employees follow any kind of guidelines for sharing? Are they legitimate and are they secure? Are you able to update existing links and delete the old unwanted ones? The typical answer to all of these questions is, I don't know. And that's totally standard, right? More often than not, what happens is that links are shared and then they're totally forgotten about. Imagine it like this, though. Is anybody in the audience guilty of sending out a link to all of your coworkers, or maybe even worse, to your user base, and then having to follow it up right away with, oh no, sorry, here's the correct link, right? You don't have to put your hands up. I'll admit it's happened to me. Recently, I was trying to share a very official human resources communication with my entire team. And instead, I sent them a link to a meme where I was making fun of Donald Trump. And it was hilarious. It was a great meme, but definitely inappropriate, especially when the subject of the email was human resources update coming from the head of the HR team, right? Definitely not what you want. But real control over your links means that you have the ability to edit the destination URL at any time. So in this situation, I sent out my sketchy link, clicked on it myself, and then realized, oh my God, get in there and change it. And I was able to update that before anybody even noticed. Sent them the meme at a different time, though. So we need the ability to edit the links so that you can fix mistakes, because we are all human and they do happen. You need to change your links when campaigns come to an end, so that you can send your users to other relevant content and keep them on your pages for longer, even if the deal that they were looking for is no longer valid. Updating old content, so adjusting articles, making older publications evergreen, getting rid of things that are out of date or no longer accurate. Changes to legal policies. So for example, during the big scramble to fix everything for GDPR, if you have links included in any of your official legal documentation, it means that you don't need to change the document at all. You can just go in and update the link. And then last of all, we do speak to people that are very worried about the idea of malicious content going out on the company's behalf. But if you can think back to my email example from earlier in the talk, a company would never consider letting its employees share something with a generic email, right? Because they have a branded email. Your employees do have the ability to send out malicious content via email, unfortunately. But if they were to do something like that with a branded link, the ability to control the destination of that URL means management can come in and make an update and an adjustment or delete the link entirely. So that you can recall that malicious content. And that's what I mean by mitigating threats in the time of crisis. Link management means customizing your links to further the reach of your marketing campaigns. And so I want to talk to you guys about a few nifty little features that we have that you can start applying immediately in the campaigns that you're currently running, or that you can start planning to use in future campaigns. So the first one is retargeting. I'm sure you guys are all already familiar with it, but in a gist, retargeting works whereby you drop a little piece of JavaScript code onto your website, and then when a site or a visitor lands on your site, they get pixeled, and you can add them to your retargeting lists at a later date. With link retargeting, you have the ability to retarget people that never even land on your website. Yes, you heard me right, they don't even have to get there. You can add that retargeting pixel directly to the link itself. And so when anybody clicks on that URL, no matter where it leads them, you can get them back to your page at a later date or serve them with those ads. Traffic routing. So has anybody ever been shopping online and then been suddenly brought to a flash sale landing page? That happened because you were traffic routed, meaning that you were sent to a specific destination based on the time of day that you were clicking. And traffic routing means that you can send users to different pages based on things like the language that they browse in or the country that they live in, the day of the week or the time of the day. And then again, you can remove that rule so that if your campaign comes to an end, if you want to remove the sale, for example, you can send them to a specific page for a certain amount of time and then send them back to your home page or your blog or wherever else you want them to go. But you're keeping them interacting with your content for longer. Inserting UTM parameters. So a link management platform can provide an in-house UTM builder that allows you to create templates and then easily attach those parameters onto the destination URL. And it's key, it's not going to be shown on the branded link itself. That still stays nice and short, sweet, beautiful. But this way, you can integrate the click data into your Google Analytics without the need for any other type of integrations and get more detailed insights. APIs. So this is something maybe marketers don't necessarily have too much interaction with, but big companies oftentimes do need to create, edit, or delete huge volumes of branded links, like in bulk. And so if you were to automate the process via API, you can create thousands, even millions of branded links in the span of only a couple of minutes. Some of the typical times we see this would be if companies are running text message marketing campaigns and they have a text generation tool. You can actually create the branded links for each individual customer in your user base and send them out via API in real time as your texts are being sent. Mobile deep linking. So a theme that I keep coming back to is the ability to control your own links. And as it stands, if you want to embed a deep link into one of your marketing campaigns, you have to go to your tech team, ask them to build you the deep link, wait until they hand it over to you. And it's the same process, right? Every single time you need one. And if your tech team are anything like mine, they roll their eyes every single time the marketing team comes looking for something. Whereas link management gives you the ability to generate the deep links for yourself, completely removing the coding from the process and eliminating the need to contact your engineers altogether, which is a huge relief when it comes to my marketing team. Now, I want you guys to bear in mind these are just a few of the features that you can utilize when you're working with a branded link management tool. And the idea is that you have one central dashboard for creating the links, for customizing them, and then for updating them over time, for looking at them and analyzing them and seeing how they're impacting your campaigns. And so it gives you a sort of eagle's eye view over every single link in the company. And it eliminates the complication of having a separate tool or a separate team managing your links for each and every different project. Last of all, let's talk about analytics. So as marketers, it goes without saying that budget is always on your mind. You have to demonstrate the value of the work that you're doing. And when running a huge variety of campaigns in different platforms, managing this success can be pretty difficult to keep consistent and reliable. How many times have you seen significant variance in the stats between your CRM and your Google Analytics, for example? Branded links, on the other hand, they provide in-depth stats that come from the source itself, and that's the click on the link by your users. And so they totally eliminate the guesswork, meaning that you get all of the information that you need in order to make smart decisions about future projects. And so by tracking your links, then you can produce really detailed reports, even customizable reports. And you can look at things like how many clicks are coming, from which countries, from what devices, which browsers are the most popular, what language are your users browsing in. And that way you get a full breakdown of the campaign and its performance so that you can decide where you want to be investing your money in the future. Imagine you could find out that a big segment of your audience is accessing your content from a country that you weren't really aware you were popular in, or from devices that you're not really optimizing your content for. Okay, so I want to do just a quick recap, guys. Branded links are shortened versions of URLs that include your brand name, a relevant TLD, and then a long, meaningful keyword. They are assets for your company, and they can be customized for full incorporation in your overall marketing strategy. They have the capacity to save you time, money, and huge amounts of effort. And above all else, they guarantee that your company is at the center in every single communication that you share. And so at Rebrandly, we truly believe that it's your brand that comes first, and it's why we've built a link management platform such as this to be able to empower your marketing campaigns. Thank you guys so much for your time. If you do visit rebrandly.live/Rimini, you have the ability to download a coupon code so that you can get your first branded domain for free. Try out the platform, see if you like it. If anybody has any questions right now, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, you can find me after the talk and we can chat a little bit more about links. Okay. Thank you very much.
Grazie, thank you very much.